Good morning, everybody out there in cyberspace, our much appreciated viewers. Um, so we're at Parshat Korah. What a parsha! So Ishbitzer here is going to get into some, I think, deep philosophical. Actually, he gets into free will. So um, yeah, so we're saying this, opening this up together. We don't know where it's going to go exactly, but
This deals with a rebellion of sorts against the leadership of Moshe Rabbeinu during the
yeah.
time in the desert. This guy, Kairach, he was actually Moshe's first cousin. Kairach was given, he's a Levi, so he was given big jobs. He was carrying around the Aron. It wasn't a small thing.
Mm,
But Kairach was a guy, even though he was extremely wise, he was extremely rich also.
mm,
Anyway, but he became consumed with jealousy of the position of Kohen, or priest. It wasn't enough for him to be the Levi. He wanted to be the Kohen.
right.
Now, the Kohen, the priestly class, was drawn out from the family of Levi. He's saying, wait a minute, I come from the older son. I'm the older boy. I'm the older cousin. My father was the older son of Kahas. What's going on here? Why did I get passed over?
Mhm.
So he decided to rile up the mob against Moshe's leadership, and it didn't turn out well. So Moshe Rabbeinu tries to make peace. It doesn't work. He wants to fight. They devise a test. Kairach and his other henchmen, Zasan and Aviram, they are the earth opens up. Everyone that maybe heard this, the earth opens up, and they are vacuumed in,
Swallowed.
swallowed up alive.
Yeah.
There's a whole thing we could speak about that for hours, but that's what happens. So there's a rebellion. The rebellion fails because at the end of last week's parsha, um, we had the mitzvah of the tzitzis, of the fringes that a Jewish male wears, a garment, and the original commandment was now hanging off this garment, this four-cornered. If you are wearing a four-cornered garment, a split garment, you must attach fringes to them, wool fringes. The original commandment said that one of these fringes on each corner should be dyed blue. And this was to remind us of God, because the blue reminds us of the ocean, reminds us of the sky, reminds us of heaven, reminds us of God. So this is going to be important here because this was a way in which was devised to enhance our constant reminder to be God-fearing people. One of his he tried to make a mockery of the leadership of Moses, and he brought all kinds of weird and crazy questions. One of the things he tried to do was he said the following. He offered the following question, which was an unanswerable question. Either way, if Moshe would answer yes or no, he would be able to seize on the answer and make fun of Moses, his leadership, and the entire Torah, actually.
Mm-hmm.
The question was, Moses, you said that one of the strings has to be dyed blue. What if the entire garment is dyed blue? Do I still need to have one little string dyed blue?
Mm-hmm.
Now, if he says no, then he would say, aha, you just proved to me that who says that Aaron, the one blue string, should be a Kohen? Everyone is equal here, equality. The whole thing is blue. Why
Yeah,
should he stand out? You see where he's going with that. And if he
absolutely.
says yes, he just says, yes, that's illogical. If the whole thing is blue, I need one string blue. That doesn't make sense at all. The whole thing is ridiculous. It's nonsense.
It's a demagoguery that creates like a trap, like a logical
Exactly.
trap. That's
A logical trap for him. Now, with that background, we can get into this, where the Ishbitzer is going to take it in a completely different way, but it had to do with that medrash, so it was necessary to go through
ab-
that.
absolutely,
Okay,
really super quick announcements. You want to go to the source sheet? I'm going to show people how to go to the source sheet, and you can see the verse as well as the Hebrew text of the Ishbitzer, and there's English translation there as well. So The way to do that is, you go to our website and you go down to Parsha videos. And that's where the source sheet is. There it is. You can help yourself. Now, if you want to read the whole Parsha of Korah, which is really, really fascinating, it's worth a read. It's Numbers 16:1 all the way till Numbers 18. Also, if you haven't yet, please subscribe, like us if you do, and share. We thank you. And, Holy Rebbe Mordechai Yosef Liener of Ishbitz. He starts like this. He says, he's quoting Vaikach Korah. So that's the very beginning of the Parsha, basically. And then he says, in the Midrash, we read, and this is Midrash Rabbah, and you know, on the Parsha. So he says, "Mipnei ma nismach Parshat Korach v'Parshat Tzitzit." He said, he asks the question, why does Korach follow the story of, or the instruction to wear tzitzit? לפי שקורח לקח טלית שכולה תכלת ואמר פטורה ומחויבת. So because Korach referred to a talit that was all completely blue instead of normal white, black, whatever, with one thread of blue, and challenged Moses with that kind of paradoxical kind of riddle. So, העניין בזה, כי תכלת מורה על יראה. And what is this pointing to? So, tchelet, the color, they call it sky blue, is represents awe of God. Ira can be translated fear of God, awe of God. So, והנה כוח טען, שירת השם יתברך מפורשת לפניו. And he claimed through all this, by implication, he claimed that the awe of God was completely understood. He had mastered that. He understands that everything is directed by heaven, even the awe of heaven. And, just to pause here for a second, it's you can see, I mean, one of the claims about Korach is that he is very eccentric. He's very, he holds of himself, right? He's, because there's an interesting debate whether he makes good claims, why should you be above us? Everybody's equal. He's kind of like supposedly standing up for democracy and equality. But from it's clear that what he's representing is his own ego, his own desire to, he's using that to aggrandize himself. He wants to be, he wants everybody to be equal as long as he's more equal. But so you see that when he says, "Oh yeah, I got it. I know that everything's from heaven. I'm on top of my faith and even fear of heaven." That's an interesting philosophical question, which the Ishbitzer is going to get into, because the Chazal say I think it's worth explaining here, right? This is a spoof, or this is a variation on what Chazal say, that all is in the hands of heaven, but the awe of heaven.
Just you use the word spoof. It's actually contradicting an open Gemara based on a pasuk. The verse says later on in the Chumash, we are asked rhetorically, what does God ask of us except to fear him? And Gemara says on that, Rashi brings it. It's right there in Rashi, but it's from a Gemara bracha. Rashi says right there, that shows us that if that's all that God is asking of us, that shows that God handles everything else except this.
Right.
So, and along comes the famous statement, Hakol bidei shemayim chutz me'yir shemayim.
That's right.
God runs the show, except how you're going to handle your stuff. Yeah. Along comes the Ishbitzer, and he's saying, Afilu Yireh Shemayim. Now, I'm not clear if if you can kvetch the taich of chutz to
Right,
mean. I think what he's saying possibly is mufareshes lefanav, like Kairach is saying, I get it. I'm not chutz. In other words, I
right,
get that God is even running what I'm doing.
right,
I
right.
get that, and everyone. That's why the whole garment, right? Everyone
Yeah,
actually gets that
yeah.
because I get it. I'm a smart guy. But
Well,
but yeah, go
does
ahead.
it? But doesn't the Ishbitzer here attribute that to Korach? I don't think it's the
That's what he's
Ishbitzer.
saying.
Yeah. So
That's
that
but not
means,
just Kairach, but Kairach is attributing it to everybody.
but this shows, to me anyway, it shows that Korach is saying, I mean, the two things. One thing I already said, that is his, shows his ego, right? It shows his, you know, I got it all figured out, even the Yirat Shamayim, it's like, but in some odd way. I mean, but he's also saying that, implying that his protest is also from Yirat, it's also from heaven, you could say.
Uh, well, yeah, that's understood that he thinks he's doing the right thing.
Uh, so it's
But
also part of Yirat Shamayim. It's, I'm doing this for, out of fear of heaven. I'm stepping up for the truth. That's what I hear, you know.
oh, okay, I'm hearing. I could hear that as well, but
Yeah.
I'm also hearing him say putting it together with his query about the tzitzis and the garment.
Hmm.
That I think he's saying that the whole garment. Most you're wrong. It's not just some people get it. Not just
Hmm.
like me and maybe your brother Aaron get it. The string. Everyone gets this. What are you
I
talking about?
see.
It's
I see. I see what
mifureshes. It's open. Yerushalayim
Yeah.
is also. Everyone has the same level of Yerushalayim.
I see.
Everyone can get. Everyone can chop.
Right. Right. That is why I understand what you're saying. And that is why it gets into now free choice. So it's almost Cork's claiming there is no free choice. I mean, or everybody is, it's for the
Right.
claim that everybody's equal. He wants to take people's free choice away.
Right.
But the point is, it
As
doesn't
we'll
work that
see.
way. Free.
Right. It's more subtle than that.
Yeah. Okay. So let's continue. ואם
Okay.
כן, איך יבוא לאדם שיעשה דבר נגד רצון השם יתברך? And if that's the truth, how can anybody do anything that's against the heavenly will? כיוון שהרצון והמעשה הכל מאיתו יתברך. Because both the desire and the action, the fulfillment or the manifestation, all that comes from him, capital H, Yitbarach, from God, the Blessed One. And how could anything be done that is not according to God's will? Tani, you really need to be machzik hafachim, to hold opposites here. And Korach wants to flatten it out. Basically, um, he wants to take away the paradox or take away the discomfort that um, of free will. Is it is it all according to God's dictate, or is there free will, or can both of those exist at the same time? And obviously the Chazal say yes, but he wants to flatten it out,
Right.
and he's going to the side of, oh, it's free will is nothing. It's all God's or predetermination. And that's why Korach was claiming that he himself did not need to put on a tzitzit of tchelet, of sky blue, tzitzit meromzim alira, because that is hinting or representing awe of God.
I don't need a reminder so I can make the right choice.
Right.
That's what he's
Yeah. Simple for him.
saying.
ובאמת, רצון השם יתברך שבעולם הזה יהיה לעיני אדם. And in truth, that God's will in this world should be revealed to the eyes of humans.
Right. He's saying technically speaking, Kairach had a good claim.
Hmm.
Technically, if you look at it from a certain angle, Kairach is taka right.
That's right.
but there's going to be a kink in the arm. There's going to be a problem here. But technically, he had a point.
Yeah. זה שאית בגמרא, and this is what it means, or the Gemara here, he brings the Gemara in Chagiga 13, where this is being discussed through a different metaphor, a different story here. And the Gemara says, Yecheskel hitpalel al pnei shor v'nehefach lekaruv. So Ezekiel is praying that the face in his dream, that the face of the ox would turn into the face of an angel, which really means the face of a human being. In the second variation, where this part of the dream is, where Ezekiel is seeing these fantastical animals in the heavens, so the ox disappears, and purposefully so, says the Gemara, and becomes the face of a child, says the Gemara, of a young face of a human being. And the question is why? Kishor more al chokhma mevureret meod uveomek. The ox symbolizes a very deep and clarified wisdom. Hakol bidei shamayim uvchirat adam eino rak klipat hashum, which shows that basically it kind of reinforces what Korah was saying, that everything is in the hands of heaven, and uvchirat adam, the choice or the free choice of a human being, eino rak klipat hashum has the worth of the shell of garlic, which means no worth at all. That's tossed away. Eino rak lefi da'ato. And nothing is just goes by a person's opinion. Since the Holy One, God, has concealed his ways and his will, you could say, from human beings, because God is desiring of a person's effort, a person's spiritual work, spiritual service. If everything, all of God's will and God's ways, and would be revealed lefanav, before a human being, lo yitzmach bo shum avodah, there would be no need for a person to effort and to do spiritual work and to do mitzvot and to do to work to acquire that knowledge, you could say, or that connection. So I just want to say that here I'm losing the logic of in that sentence, I lost the logic of the Ishbitzer. Seems like he said one thing and the opposite. But we'll, I guess, come back to that. Let me finish up the end of his commentary, and then we'll try to crack it. And that is why Yecheskel purposefully prayed that the image of the ox, or the face of the ox, would change to the face of a child. In order for the ways of God to be hidden. So people would believe or experience themselves as if they have free choice. And this would force them, us, right, to have the idea of effort or divine service. Api Zutra.
That is, Api Zutra means a small face.
That's what a karuv is. Yeah.
Right, but Api Zutra means in Aramaic a small face. So he's saying his description. So to go back, the problem begins in chapter Yecheskel. Ezekiel is having prophetic revelations and visions. And he envisions a chariot, a godly chariot, a divine chariot. And he describes it. The problem is, and in chapter 1, he describes one of the corners, one of the four corners of the chariot, as having the face. One of the faces is the face of an ox.
Mm-hmm.
In chapter 10, he describes it again, but the ox disappeared somehow, and it's replaced by the crew, the
Right.
angelic baby faces, which were part of the structure of the ark in the
Right.
temple,
Above the, yeah.
above the ark, in the cover of the ark.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So the Gemara points this out, obviously, what's going on here.
Right.
And that's where the Gemara says that he prayed for that, for God to change that face, because the shore, the ox, reminds God, so to speak, of the sin of the golden calf,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
whereas the
Right.
crew would bring out the beauty of the Jewish people, but he's taking it, of course, according to his theory, that there is technically no free will. It's
Mm-hmm.
rock. He says it here. The ain't no rock lefi daito. It's only according to our perspective.
Mm-hmm.
This is a very controversial thing he's saying, and he double downs on it at the end. He's
Mm-hmm.
saying, he's explaining that God does this to give us the illusion of free will, because from God's point, in other words, if God is past, present, and future, and God knows the future, He
Right.
knows what we're going to choose. If we're going to choose to do the mitzvah and choose Chasson to do the
Right.
Avera, so then where's the free choice if it's already
The,
foreknown? So he's
right. A
saying that you're
mitzvah.
right, it is foreknown,
Right.
but God makes it as if we have a choice,
Right.
to make us feel like we did something.
But I think that when he says that al dato depends on his point of view, that's exactly the way you mitigate the paradox between predetermination and everything is God's will, even if you do something that's wrong, a transgression. That's basically where it gets troublesome. It's easy to say, okay, God wants me to do things or good things, or God wants me to have good things, but what about the bad stuff? Is that also God's will? Or when I do bad things, is that also God's will? And what he's saying, it depends on where you look, from which vantage point you look at it. I think that's real. I mean, our mind doesn't have enough bandwidth to hold both of those things, but it could. I think it's what he suggested.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's a Hasidic master. He's taking what he is teaching from ultimately and originally from the teachings of the Baal Shem Tov. The Baal Shem Tov said that there is what God knows, but there's also what God wants.
Mm-hmm.
That's that's he said it in short form, but this is like drawing out that concept. It's a very deep thing.
Mm-hmm.
So there's God knows, but it's not necessarily what God wants. And
So what is Ishbister's point though when he brings this Gemara? Obviously, in the Gemara, there's a simple explanation about because the ox represents the golden calf and all that. So, but he goes deeper. He says the ox represents the wisdom, the knowledge of God's ways.
right.
And
And the person and the face of the person is a simple person who doesn't know.
yeah,
So he's saying that really it was a short, but Yechezkel said, wait a minute, if everything is open and revealed,
yeah,
what am I going to do? What are we going to do?
yeah. What's
There's
life
nothing,
about?
there's no place to move.
Yeah,
So he prayed for Rachamim that,
yeah,
hey, take the shore out. The shore represents wisdom, deep wisdom,
right.
and replace it with a person, with a human
Yeah,
being from whom this knowledge is hidden.
right. And it's not just a human being, but it's the face of a baby, of a small, it's a small face. I think as I'm thinking about it, as we're discussing it, it feels like that is a child represents a very narrow consciousness because we haven't yet grown. And in some ways that represents how we are even as grown people because compared to God's wisdom, we're like children. So we think that's why that's how I'm understanding his emphasis on it's not just the face of a human being, it's the face of a baby, of a child. right? So we're giving the delusion of free will because that allows us to choose to make the effort to expand our consciousness, right? Our understanding. That's coming to make sense to me. What do you think?
Yeah, no, that's basically what's happening here. And to bring it all the way back, so what Korah was trying to say, according to this scripture, was everyone sees the truth. Everyone sees everything. Everyone
Hmm.
sees everything openly and equally.
Hmm.
So you can't pull somebody out from the crowd and elevate them
Right,
and say, "This Aharon he's really got Yiras Shamayim. So
right,
he is Roy. He is fitting to be in charge of this awesome task of
right,
offering the sacrifices and all that stuff." And what Kairi was saying, what do you mean? Is on the same. Everyone is on the same level of revelation of
yeah.
understanding God's will.
From God's
And
point of view as well, you could say.
yeah,
From God's
and
point
from
of view,
from our
everybody's
point of
equal.
view, I
Yeah,
see everything. He sees everything. Everyone sees everything. Everyone can take turns, or as you said at the beginning, better yet, so let me just be the guy,
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
show them to be the faker. And Moshe's thing was to explain, okay, but not, no, from God points of view, you're right, but we're just people.
Yeah.
And from people's point of view, we have free choice, and not everyone always makes the same choice. We're not all holding on the same
That's right. That's
level.
right.
So if you put Joe Schmo in the base of Mikdash for a carbon, it's not going to be helpful.
Yeah. Yeah. No. So basically, Korach is kind of being highfalutin. He's being highfalutin, but he forgets that God's will is that we all play the game. Shall be having the merit to play the game and enjoy our delusion that we have free will. Work hard to get that wisdom, that oxy, the shore wisdom, the ox's wisdom. Thank you for your subscription and thank you for being with us here. And we appreciate you. And God willing, next Wednesday morning, 9 o'clock. Let me say it's 9 o'clock on the East Coast, and it would be 4 o'clock here in Eretz HaKodesh in Israel.
Boy says so ahava